truths have guided me spiritually from the very beginning and continue to do so now. The wisdom that I gained from growing up in Espiritismo has helped me throughout my entire life journey and granted me understanding where others found only confusion. It has been the foundational vehicle through which I was able to reach total awakening and enlightenment. I grew up with my maternal grandmother, who was a well-known espiritista and healer. She ran a full-time healing practice while raising a bunch of grandkids and adopted children and pursuing her own divine mission of feeding the people. A normal day in our home consisted of her cooking more than 10 pounds of food as she consulted with and healed people at our dining room table. As well as being practitioners of Espiritismo, we were also members of a Pentecostal church. If you know anything about Pentecostalism, then you know that this appears to be a huge contradiction. But there were reasons for this odd mix of faiths. In fact, this spiritual mix is not uncommon in Puerto Rican families, as you will discover. My grandfather had become a Pentecostal Christian quite some time before I was born, and this conversion totally changed his life. My grandmother supported him wholeheartedly in this, often saying it was the best thing that happened to him when he accepted Christ. His new faith changed my grandfather from an alcoholic womanizer, albeit a hard-working man, to a loyal, faithful, and sober person. It gave him a sense of stability and a moral compass. Amazingly, he never tried to push his newfound connection with the divine on my grandmother. As he put it, "When I met her, she was already more of a saint than a human being, more of a nun than the nuns." My grandfather feared but respected the spirits and my grandmother's traditional practices. His own mother was an espiritista and healer, and he had grown up around the work, so he fully supported all my grandmother's desires and contributed to her mission of feeding people. He even bought healing items for people when they couldn't afford them and helped my grandmother maintain her healing garden and all the plants and herbs she used in her practices. Surprisingly, my grandmother was a highly active and well-respected member of my father's church as well. She became an elder, and her counsel was regularly sought in all important matters. In fact, no big decisions were ever taken without her input, even though it was well known by all that she was an espiritista. This church, she said, was better than the Catholics because you get to have the Holy Spirit. Pentecostals believe in possession and messages delivered via the Holy Spirit, and highly value the gift of speaking in tongues. As my grandmother often said, God is everywhere, at home and at the church. So it was common for us to attend reuniones espirituales, espiritista rituals on Friday or Saturday night, and attend church on Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Yes, God and Spirit were number one in my household growing up. When speaking about it, I often joke that it was a full-time job. This intense spirituality, however, instilled in me the capacity to see how important the divine really is in life. In fact, some people endure incredible amounts of suffering daily simply because they lack this personal connection to the divine. Illnesses, emotional and mental problems, and issues in relationships all have a spiritual component and reflect an imbalance that could so easily be corrected if the divine were present. In my grandmother's home, it was normal for people to start showing up for spiritual help any time after 8 o'clock in the morning. In fact, they showed up at all hours of the day or night, especially in emergencies. Once there, they were usually invited to have some coffee or juice as they waited until my grandmother was ready to attend to them. Our dining room table was not just for eating. It was a center for healing, love, connection, and much more. She sat people down there and consulted with them. Sometimes she asked them to bring something back so she could help them. Sometimes she referred them to other spiritual workers who were specialists in the issues they needed to resolve. And sometimes she simply told them what they needed the moment she saw them. As all of this was going on, this remarkable lady had huge pots of rice and meats cooking. The smells of the delicious food permeated the whole